Diana selected this song because I'm going to talk about one. I promised everyone that I would, but 2 weeks ago I talked about something else. And I said I was ready to give a talk on oneness, but I'll do it next time. So here's the next time. So I have to bring you back a few Torah portions ago. And the book of Deuteronomy, we are in the middle of the book of Deuteronomy, which means we're very close to the high holidays. And the book of Deuteronomy in Hebrew is Devarim. Devarim, words in Hebrew. Like you give a Devar, Torah, you give words about the Torah. The word Devarim means words. And that's the name of the book of Deuteronomy in Hebrew because books are named after the first unique word of when things begin. So the book begins, Ele Hadvarim. Here are the words. Why? Because the book of Deuteronomy is the book where Moses basically retailed the entire story one more time to all the Israelites assembled in front of him. Now, Dvarim, Ele Hadvarim, these are the words that Moses will speak to the entire people assembled. The word Dvarim also can be translated as things. It's one of those incredible words in Hebrew. It's the word for word in Hebrew is the same word as the word for thing. And so you can translate, which I imagine Moses, standing in front of the entire assembly of Israel, not starting with, these are the words, but like with a New York accent, he said, so here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. And what is the thing? Here's the thing. I think we should translate the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy with, okay, so here's the thing. And one of the things that Moses or God speaks to the Israelites about at the very beginning of the book of Deuteronomy is one of the most critical verses in all of Torah as far as I'm concerned. Ata herata lada'at ki Adonai hu ha'elohim ein od milvado. That's Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 35, if you want to look it up. It's an incredible verse. For those of us who are more mystically inclined, more vibing with the Kabbalah, if you want. Because the translation that I would love to share is, Ata ereta, you were shown. That's what these first two words mean. Lada'at. So that's a wonderful, usually it's translated for you to know. You were shown for you to know, and then I'll tell you what the rest is. But da'at in Hebrew, that gets translated as for you to know, da'at in the Kabbalistic tree of life is the hidden sephirah, which is one of the highest sephirah on the transformation and the transpersonal awakening that the Kabbalah invites us into, layers and layers of awakening. But there is a hidden sephirah that where you leave completely the dualistic consciousness and step into the non-dual consciousness. And that is that space of stepping into non-dualistic consciousness, which is the theme of my talk tonight, oneness, is that place called da'at. There is a knowing that happens in that moment that is not a knowing of the mind, that is not an intellectual knowing, that is a heart knowing, that is a intuitive knowing, that is a knowing that doesn't have words anymore. So you were shown at the level of da'at, at the level of deep knowing, of wordless knowing, that Yud He Vav He, that the unpronounceable name of God, that the nothingness, the emptiness, Hu ha-Elohim is the form, is all that is all that exists. Nothing becomes everything. Nothing is everything, and everything is nothing. These are two sides of the one coin. So you were told at the level of deep knowing, a wordless knowing, that emptiness is form, that all that exists comes from and is nothing else than nothingness. And then it ends with, in the manifest realm in which we live, Ein od milvado. There is nothing more than that which alone is. It's just amazing. People have made bracelets and amulets with those words. Ein od milvado. There is nothing more than that which alone is. And I want us to just be with that. Because when we speak these words, when we try to, in the deepest knowing of our heart, try to fathom that there is nothing more than that which alone is, that's where we come to the realization that it's all one. It's all one. It's all one at the deepest non-dualistic level. When we say it's all one, Ein od milvado, there is nothing more than that one. There is nothing more than what we're saying is that there is no two. Now this is going to get a little complicated, but I want you to bear with me because we're entering into the realm of Kabbalah, of mysticism. If we say it's all one, as we are known to have said and believe, then if we say that, then we had said that there is no two. There's just one. And if there is no two, then you and I cannot exist as two separate entities. Our seeming two-ness must be, how do we say that? An elaborate optical illusion. Very elaborate. There can't actually be two entities if it's all one. Either it's all one or it's not, but if it's all one, there can't be two entities. There can't be I and you. There can only be I. There can never be you. If it's all one, then you don't exist. If it's all one, only I exist. There is nothing more than that which alone is. There can't be anything else. It's like the pure white moon may appear on the surface of the choppy lake as infinite tiny separate shards of light. But it's still the one white moon. It may appear as infinite tiny separate reflections of of the moon. So when I look in the mirror of the lake, I recognize myself as appearing as all the unique shards, as actually if I look in the mirror of the lake, I recognize myself as appearing as the unique shard of light named Olivier. Or named David, or named Linda. But it is never Olivier or David or Linda who looks in the mirror. Only I. Only I. It's never Olivier, David, or Linda that looks in the mirror. Only I. I am the one looking through all eyes, listening through all ears, tasting through all mouths, and I am also all that is seen, all that is heard, and all that is tasted, all at the same time. I only pretend to be you, but there is no you and I. There's only I. I pretending to be every separate you. But you don't exist, only I. So coming face to face with a mirror next time, when there is this opportunity of coming face to face in the mirror next time, feel, that's my invitation, feel that there is no you looking. Just I looking at one of its fleeting temporary shapes. Try that exercise next time there's a mirror in front of your presence. There is no you looking. There's only I, seeing itself as manifesting as the container, the fleeting container in the mirror. Now, I probably have lost most of you, and it's okay, because we can't really explain this through words. See, because words don't exist in the non-dual world. They exist only in the dual world. And so I can share concepts, I can share ideas, but they're only pointing to something that is ineffable unless it is deeply known, intimately known, wordlessly known. It's not a thought. It's just a realization of absolute truth that is just known. You can't verbalize it. It's just, looking in the mirror, I is doing the looking. I deeply know that, but I can't explain it. I just know it. Because it doesn't make sense to the dualistic self, the separate self, which is why you, as the illusory separate self, can't help but misinterpret the notion of it's all one. We do, we can't help it. We hear somebody says it's all one, it sounds delicious. We want to believe it, but the ego, the self, cannot really fathom what that actually truly means. And it's fine, it's just normal. So the relative dualistic separate self can only hear it as, when we hear it's all one, we hear everything is equal. Right? It's all one, everything is equally one. Everything, we are all equally human. You know what I mean? We're all the same, right? There is my unique separate self that is inherently the same as your inherently unique separate self. It's all one human race. And so no human being is better than any other human being. That's what we hear when the ego translates it's all one. But then we're faced with a paradox. And the paradox is that we're trying to bring a concept from the absolute non-dual transcendent into the relative dualistic immanent. And they can't mesh with each other. We make mistakes if we do that. Because we find ourselves, when we say it's all one, we find ourselves invited into this kind of absolute tolerance, absolute inclusivity. If it's all one, then I must be absolutely tolerant of all. I must be, I'm invited to be inclusive of all. In that place, all humans are created equal in my mind. I take that to be a universal absolute. All humans are created equal. And therefore, I must have absolute tolerance right? For all beings, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, sex, gender, national origin, right? We see this as expression of our saying it's all one. But we actually can't really do that because, again, we try to apply a principle that doesn't exist in this world. So on the one hand, we betray our values, our yearning to affirm it's all one, because we also know deep in our heart that not all creeds are equal. There are some creeds, some systems of belief that are better than others. And so we can't, it's that paradox. We want to affirm that every belief is equal, that it's all one, but we know also deep in our heart that there are belief systems and creeds that are better than others. For example, we say that our creed, usually we say, is higher or better than the creed of the party or the president we disagree with. Following me so far? So not everyone and not everything is equal. And so we are in this trap of consciousness where we want everything and everyone to be embraced and included, but we realize, well, we might not be able to do that. There are things that are better than others. And so we live in this paradox. You know, we back at some animals are more equal than others, right? Some animals are more evolved, more compassionate than others. So it's not really one. It's not really one. And then on the other hand, we make another mistake. And the other mistake we make is that we project our own worldview onto parts of humanity that do not share it. That's very important to realize, that we oftentimes project our own worldview, our own values, our own value system onto parts of humanity that actually don't share it with us at all. We project onto other people that they understand where we are coming from, that they understand our truths, whatever those truths may be. But if we pay attention and we look around the world, some of the 20 countries that Eden's son visited, I'm sure, we realize that this notion that all men are created equal has only so far been understood by very few nations in the world. It is not a value, it is not an understanding, a level of consciousness, a level of knowing that is actually universally shared. It's just not. And so, even here in America, we are still struggling with that notion that, all humans are actually created equal. We're still not really, we didn't really get there. It's an ideal that we are still pursuing. But for most people in the world, that is not an idea that they understand or that they abide by. Most nations in the world are still really, if you look at it, at that crusader / Inquisition level of consciousness and understanding. We see a lot of nations that are led by regimes of intolerance and oppression. I mean, we could name on the top of our heads a dozen right now. And so, though we would love to wave the banner of it's all one, that might not be understood by all peoples everywhere. And we must realize that those who don't share those values, though we project them onto them, might still come to us, seeing us as infidels, whether religiously or politically, whatever their movement is, and try to overthrow us or to kill us. Because from their point of view, every man is created equal just doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make any sense. So these are the two categories of mistakes that we make when we understand it's all one from the separate sense of self. And here is the real problem I think we're faced with, because we live in very tolerant countries. We want to be the most tolerant country we can be, to create the biggest tent where everyone is welcome. But when we become tolerant of all, then we come to tolerate the intolerance of others. And that's a really big problem in our world today. Because we have created incredibly tolerant societies. But we make the mistake to confuse the tolerance of all to also tolerate within our midst or around the world those countries, those nations, those people who are intolerant, who display intolerance. And that's really a conundrum that we are faced with as Western nations mostly. The limits of our tolerance. And when we, in fact, become tolerant of even the most intolerant in our midst, look at what's happening in America, that's when things go awry. And at this point in time, there are religious, there are political movements the world over steeped in intolerance. Take your pick. I'm sure you're thinking of a few right now. We cannot be so tolerant that we would tolerate within our societies the intolerance of those who seek to destroy tolerant societies altogether. You see our problem? This is a real problem. Again, we cannot be so tolerant that we would tolerate within our societies the intolerance of those who seek to destroy tolerant societies like ours, whether from within, name your withinness, or from without. So it's all one. We have to be very careful when we hold that thought in our consciousness. Because it's all one cannot mean everything goes. Everything must be tolerated. Everything must be included. It cannot mean that. We still must have healthy boundaries within our own openness and tolerance of others. Maybe we should have, it's all one, and there should be an and there. Within the framework of being of all being all one, there are things that we cannot allow to be if we want to keep being the tolerant society that we seek to become. So it's very critical to understand when we say it's all one, what we say. And when I say here in this space, it's all one, I really mean more of the Kabbalistic version, the one that nobody understands, which is fine. Because in fact, I would really warn us, as I think I am right now, to really be mindful of how tolerant we are. So when I say it's all one, I want to be very clear. When I say it's all one, I speak from the absolute. I speak from the non-dual space that says there is nothing more than that which alone is. that deeper truth that it can only be known if you let the words penetrate and wordlessly go, There is nothing more than that which alone is. That's what I say, when I often quote that the one that is looking at me through your eyes is the same one that is looking at you through my eyes. That's what I mean when I say it's all one. The one that is looking at you through my eyes is the same one that is looking at me through your eyes. That's what it means. There is no you. There is only I. Looking at me through your eyes or at you through my eyes, there's only I. There is only I. And so I say, when I say it's all one, I say you don't exist. I only exist. Only I exist. Amen.